Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Woohoo! We're back.
Made it.
Hello. We survived. Hello and welcome to It's Happening Show, community grassroots media for the people by the people. I'm Jose Gloria.
I'm Dylan Thompson. We are your hosts tonight. Indeedly-do.
It's Happening is a movement of the heart and of the mind. It's the energy of the universe that creates waves inside us and all around us, which allows us to activate, motivate, then elevate vibrationally and intellectually towards love, truth, justice, and wisdom. It's happening in every which way.
It's Happening is a culture of empowerment. It's people having the right to exist and participate as equals. It's a dream of what the world could be, but the future we want is only possible if we make it happen. So stand up, get informed, and fight back.
Fight back. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us, so we thank you because of you.
It's happening. Woo!
Yeah.
Was that close?
That was pretty dang close.
Okay, it'll come out the same on the feed. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a great show today.
Yeah.
And an awesome panel discussion. We'll talk about the protests that happened recently. So
right.
Yeah, but let's first go ahead and
you spoiled the top stories, Jose. I mean that's pretty much the only story there is.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. Indeed. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, shall we? Top story.
Yes,
Jose Gloria. So the George Floyd protests, they continue. They've been ongoing this whole weekend all over the country since the unfortunate incident with George Floyd being having a knee on his neck for 7, 8, 9 minutes, yelling for his mom, yelling for help. It was really gruesome to see. Horrible, constantly on my news feed. It was emotionally just devastating and exhausting to frankly see him in that state, and those were the last minutes of his life. So as a result, there have been protests across the nation, and first in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they have jumped all over the place. And one thing that happened recently was that there was one dead in Louisville after police and National Guard returned fire on a crowd. So that was according to NBC News. But the update on that is that apparently the police chief has been fired after it was found that body cameras had been turned off by those involved in that fatal shooting. And as the article also goes on to say that they were not to turn their cameras off, especially after the recent shooting that Louisville had with Breonna Taylor, a Black woman who was killed in her home. So the police officers obviously were not acting by the directive, and so the police chief has now been fired. So that's a good thing. That's what accountability looks like instantly, right? But so much pain, so much going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be the theme coming away from these could be the largest demonstrations in the United States for decades. I mean, arguably longer. I mean, to see the response be more violence. There's countless incidences and video recordings and of just all these senseless acts of violence against people that are trying to demonstrate, right? And I mean, isn't that the math though? That's like the Trump formula. It's like double down on stupid. And now the people have been bloodied again in the streets, and there's hundreds more cases of these blatant cases of just police have run amok. And like, shocker, right? I mean, we've been talking about this for years. And so to see all this culminate right now is shocking to me. I mean, it makes sense though, right? Look at the economic struggle people are also going through at the same time, and perhaps we'll get more into it later. But let's cover another story pertaining to this. Maybe a positive side, right? That protesters tear down statue, damage Confederate monuments, and smash windows and start fires in Birmingham. So this is the common trend among other cities, right? People taking the streets. And, I look at this as like a neighborhood cleanup organization has done us all the favor of removing these vulgar statues from our parks. So look what people can do when they band together, right? So, I mean, a small silver lining to what's been happening here, right?
Yeah, no, it's like a lot of protests have been geared in towards corporations, like big corporations. Today in LA, they've been or yesterday and today Hollywood and other places. Like just McQueen store and Apple and stuff. And I mean, Apple has it's an evil corporation. I'm not gonna be sad about that at all, but like Confederate statues definitely need to go down. But it got so heated that even Trump was ordered allegedly to get bunkered down,
Yeah.
meet the bunker at the White House, which apparently can take a Boeing plane landing on top of it, and it would still keep them safe. So, there's been tussles with the Secret Service and the protesters there, and as of today, he's officially said that he will enforce martial law, in case unruliness and rioting, which he largely blames on Antifa. So that's an ongoing situation, but all across from Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Oregon, Madison. I mean, it's nationwide and even actually international. Toronto, I believe, and in South Africa, I saw incredible solidarity.
Oh yeah, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as Trump also threatening to unleash the military against protesters and classifying Antifa as a terrorist organization. Like, think about that response. Think about how Fox News reality TV show that response is. Oh yeah, in response to all these police killings and this authoritarian violence pushed on everyone, Antifa is a terrorist. Yeah. It's amazing math.
Yeah. When in doubt, blame Antifa. It's like it's the buzzword for the right wing, to bulk us all in there. And this was a satirical article around that topic. Antifa surprised to discover it is an organization. Beaverton.com. All this time I thought I was doing was taking direct actions to fight Nazis, stated self-professed anti-fascist Matthew in Eugene, Oregon. But when I learned that I actually was a member of an organization, I got excited. Maybe we can get in office now. So facetiousness, but still, it's just ridiculous. You're really gonna label Antifa a terrorist organization while leaving right-wing, militant, active organizations of neo-Nazis and white supremacists and alt-rights alone. Yeah, just shows where the base is.
Yeah, the typical Trump fashion.
Yeah. Let's go on to our next sub story.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, generally, there's just so many. I think all the stories are about this, man. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of incidences of videos taken of innocent reporters attacked or shot with some kind of riot weapons, of people on their porches, being shot at on their own property. Humorously, Fox News team being chased away by protesters. I can get behind that.
CNN reporters are arrested. I know that a guest of the show previously, Fiorella from LA, an activist, was also arrested, even as she yelled press. They don't care. Horses stepping on a black woman in one of the protests. Cars, police cars ramming through crowds. I mean, it's just all sorts of deplorable and disgusting behavior. So it's people, are going to clutch their pearls and be like, no, but enough is enough. We thought Eric Gardner was bad enough, and this is happening again. And I encourage folks to watch that one to show on Netflix, I believe, Trial by Media, it's called. Man, if you want to get upset and see the historical context of African Americans being killed by police and nothing happening to them, go ahead and watch that. And because people have been fighting for this for decades, and still we cannot get any kind of accountability or end to police brutality or systemic or any kind of gains on any systemic racism. So
Yeah.
it's all sorts of tragic. But I'm big ups to all the people that are with the live feeds and sharing, and exposing these things, because again, like as many protesters even mentioned, uh, black and brown people have been dying for years. Uh, Now they're just getting filmed a lot more. And it was the case with Rodney King. That was the beginning, but nowadays it seems like it's happening a lot more. No, it's just getting, everybody has a smartphone now. Everybody can instantly become a reporter and share these things that are happening.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing you can say is that definitely the police have become more militarized in the last 2 decades. So it's like they've been amping up for this. They got all their toys. They got all their fun little things they can play with. They got their riot gear, and they're looking forward to using it. I mean, the way I see how they look at it, they're looking forward to it. So
Exactly. They're stoked right now. They get to like show off their shiny toys, get to dress up like RoboCops, get to bust out their horses, get to get overtime, all on taxpayer dollar. And with the ends with the shutting down or winding down of Afghanistan and Iraq wars, all this militarized equipment and Humvees, and they got to go somewhere. I guess our local communities it is. And now we have become enemy combatants, and we are treated as such, as has clearly been shown and exposed in the past week.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and do our segue story to introduce our guest for this evening. So this is according to the Voice of OC. Second day of protests in Orange County, largely peaceful, with some arrests in Santa Ana, Huntington Beach. This is an article from yesterday, May 31st, by Brandon Foe. Signs advocating law enforcement reform and chants denouncing police washed over a number of Orange County cities in most peaceful protests on Sunday. The second day in a row of rallies, though some cities like Santa Ana and Huntington Beach reported arrests and were joined by Costa Mesa in enforcing curfews to curb late night gatherings. Local police in both Huntington Beach and Santa Ana ended up eventually disturbing protests, claiming public safety concerns. The countywide protest came in response to nationwide outcry over the Minneapolis police killing of George Floyd, a black man, and police violence in general towards black people and people of color in the United States. Costa Mesa put on a curfew at 8 p.m. Santa Ana was set at 10. And currently in Anaheim, they had set a curfew to 6 p.m., but it is way past that, and folks are still out. And most recent thing that I've seen on Facebook Live is that the helicopters are announcing that it's on an unlawful assembly, and they're going to start arresting.
what's the point of the curfew, by the way? It's not actually a deterrent, right? It's just like they're setting the time of the conflict. Like, if there's actual legitimate demonstrations happening, they can just say, "Oh, there's a curfew. Sorry," and now that's the time where violence will occur because the police will come in and try to stop things.
So a large crowd of 1,500 marchers gathered, mainly in front of the old Orange County Courthouse in downtown Santa Ana, although they were split up in separate groups. Numerous Latino-owned businesses on 4th Streets put plywood on their windows and painted Raza-owned, Latina-owned, and sprayed BLM ally. Many protesters chanted, "I can't breathe," which some of Floyd's last words. The phrase has become a mantra for people protesting Floyd's death across the country. There was protests yesterday were largely peaceful, and the day before until they were not, and the violence was instigated. Carlos Perea, a police reform advocate and Santa Ana commissioner, called Brewer's remarks, which Brewer was Kelsey Brewer from OC Young Democrats, said that elected officials were being washing their solidarity and saying all of the things with no actionable commitments. So Carlos Perea said of that, "Are they going to have the courage and be bold to ensure that there are meaningful systematic changes to law enforcement overnight in City Hall, wherever they are?" So as local agencies prioritize law enforcement with their budgets, Perea said of one of the city's services to be on the Perea said one of the first city services to be on the chopping block are youth services, young people's future and lives. He pointed to the budget's portion to the largest amount of their spending to be police, as well as gang injunctions in poor county areas spanning West Santana. This county is at war with young people. And so with that, I want to bring on our awesome panelist for today's show. I'm going to go ahead and go down the list, and if folks can go ahead and turn on their video and their audio, that'll be great. So first off, Alexia Mendoza is from Costa Mesa and is a senior at Vanguard University. Alexia is a liberal studies major and hopes to teach in high needs area and work with students who've been impacted by our criminal justice system. Welcome, Alexia. And we got Pat. Pat grew up in Costa Mesa and went to Newport Harbor, graduated OCC kinesiology, and currently he's a jiu-jitsu instructor that has high hopes for the future. Actually, he didn't say high hopes. I put high, but he has hopes.
Your spin.
Close enough.
Nawi Ocelotl Huitzilopochtli is a longtime activist, friend of the show, who's been fighting against police brutality, white supremacy, and neo-Nazis through his extensive video documentation. And Gabby Hernandez Castillo is a longtime activist, advocate, organizer, and member of Chicanos Unidos, as well as a social worker. Welcome, everyone, to the show.
How's it going?
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and start with you, Alexia. So, you had mentioned before we went on that you had attended protests before or actions and rallies. So what inspired you to be a part of yesterday's action or the past actions? Have you which ones have you attended and what inspired you to attend them?
I also went to Newport Harbor as well. So there is just a very long history of segregation, and at Newport Harbor, staff, specifically more like administration, not being able to do anything about the segregation issues within AP and IB classes, and there being like no spaces for POCs to talk about these issues, and being completely marginalized by their peers as well. I graduated in 2017, but still, like to this day, like there are so many untalked about issues that still go on at Newport Harbor. But I think I was like 15 years old when I went to my first rally with a group of friends, and it was the Trump rally when he came to the fairgrounds. And I think at that point, I think my friends really challenged me to really think about who I was and what my role should be from here on out, because I was very silent on everything. But it's not until it affects you that you want to do something about it, or it's somebody that's close to you. So yeah, I was definitely challenged and picked on by my friends to do something. So that's when we kind of implemented like the very first like ethnic club on Newport Harbor's campus, and Newport Harbor has been around since like 1940, I think, and there has been no spaces for POCs. And so from then, I think I just started supporting my friends with like DACA protest, any other Trump rallies that we would find, or other or concentration camp rallies, and all that stuff. So
Wow.
I think you're muted.
Man. So like so Newport Harbor, weren't they in the media or not too long, or, around the time perhaps when you were going to school because of anti-Trump shirts or something?
I think there was a Nazi salute photo going around from Newport Harbor.
That's right.
Kids at a party or something.
Wow. Yeah. So you were in the thick of it, Alexia, and and it's good that that you had other friends that were conscious, about the issues that were happening, and were able to kind of inspire you and like recruit you in a sense to to kind of join the fight and be a part of change. That's great. you want to teach, or you want to work in high risk or at promise communities. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not really sure what that looks like. I feel like I change my mind all the time, but I'm almost done. So yeah, I feel like eventually I would love to start in like an after school program for children whose parents are incarcerated,
Hmm.
and work with that. But at first I would love to teach for a little bit.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Pat, is it Pat or Patrick?
Whichever is easier. Pat works.
Pat, it is. So, Pat, I see your skateboard in the back. Were you riding that around the protest?
I should have brought it. We parked far and had to walk, and they closed off so many streets. We literally did a full like 4-mile loop to get back to our spot. So feeling sore today. Should have had the board though.
Yeah, rookie mistake. Just kidding. But yeah, I usually bring my scooter.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my
Bring wheels and milk.
March
Yeah.
Mobile.
Yeah.
So Pat, how did you hear about it, or how did you get involved with it? And
Yeah, that's a good question. So to be honest, I was actually camping in Mammoth last week. So I came back on Saturday, and everything all at once kind of hit me. You know, everything with being posted online with the CNN reporter. I saw that first being arrested. And so my buddy told me, hey, Santa Ana is going to have a protest. And I really wanted to be a part of it because I know that I saw some of the violence going on, and having martial arts experience and situational awareness, I wanted to make sure that, you know, things weren't being vandalized, at least to the best of my ability. You know, I'm not going to get in between a cop and some, you know, I'm going to do my best to patrol our streets. So that was kind of my main thing, was to make sure my voice was heard and that our communities were safe from the best I could do. So that was my whole reason for getting out there.
right. And did you find any situation where like you were called to prevent, people from getting hurt or anything like?
I mean, luckily Santa Ana was super peaceful. There was one guy spray painting a lot and kind of told him to quit it. You know, I wasn't John Jones. I couldn't take his spray paint can from him, but I wish I would have. There was some other guy trying to jump on some news vans, trying to break the windows. Like, bro, you're going to ruin it for the rest of us. So just trying to do that and stay peaceful and stay true to the message, because I know in the media, things will be misrepresented at the slightest reason, so trying to just do my part, which, I mean, I personally feel like my part isn't that much, but everybody has to do their part and it adds up.
Absolutely.
But you didn't have to test any protester or cops ground game.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Okay. Luckily, I saw a good photo of a protester double legging a cop, like full level change, gets the double leg like a wrestling takedown. That guy's got some cojones.
Good technique.
Yeah, great technique.
I saw a video of this one white dude with like gray hair, and he was like banging away at the sidewalk, and all these black folks like picked him up and like gave him to the police and be like, yeah, like, you're making us look bad.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing too, is that out-of-towners or even just people who don't have that maturity will take the opportunity and ruin it, ruin our rights and jeopardize our future.
Yeah, I will say that I don't as I mentioned before, I don't cry for for things that can be replaced. I cry for lives that are being erased.
100%.
And it's kind of my feeling towards it all. Gabby.
Yes. Hey.
Hey, welcome back to the show, Gabby. Always great to have you on.
I like being on. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So you, I believe, were in the thick of it yesterday. I don't know if you were there Saturday as well, but I know that you saw and experienced a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about, how this compares to all the other marches and rallies that we've had in Santana in the past 10 years?
Yeah, I definitely was a proud moment. There was over 2,000 people there. 90% of them were probably youth. Well, not probably, they were youth. And I want to say that as a mental health social worker, I am constantly standing with youth, even when it's inconvenient or not beneficial, right? So there's a bunch of people that will say that they're for youth, but when it comes to actually being there with them and standing with them, people will run. And so there was people from different backgrounds, the majority of them, of course, being local. So this was not outside agitators. The majority of people there were locals or from surrounding cities. You saw families there, parents with their children, people of just different age, bringing a lot of different energy, and demanding there be protection and justice.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, especially in Santana, I mean, these are, we drove by, me and Ben, and somebody was like, "Hey, Mr. Vasquez," like, "Hey, man," like, so it's like these were his students. These were, that were from the surrounding communities, and as he mentioned, and other people mentioned, Santana specifically with their schools have had a heavy-handed approach to police presence at their campuses, in their lives, in their communities, through gang injection, so on. And you better than than most, Gabby, can attest to the plight of Santana youth, and where a lot of these frustrations are coming from, that perhaps would even lead them to rage in the way that they did.
So Santa Ana is one of the 8th out of the 100. It's the 8th most violent police department in the nation. And I think if we're going to talk about police violence, we definitely have to talk about local issues that people deal with on a daily basis. Santa Ana is the only district in Orange County that has a police department. And the #1 way that you criminalize youth is by having more contact with them. So just having their presence increases kids entering the criminal justice system. So it's really frustrating to hear like politicians, like these Democratic politicians, condemn demonstrators and try to describe them all as looters, that they're immature,
animals,
calling them animals, spreading false information, being outraged by looting, but not being outraged by innocent people being killed. When have they ever spoken up about local people being killed? Jurisdictions that they have control over. They have the control, they have the power to instill like police oversight, to make changes, but they stay silent. So there was some politicians and community leaders there yesterday marching, but I'm asking for them to do more than just march.
Yeah, 100%. And the issues of the community have been ongoing for a long time. And that council member David Penalosa, which was the one that called people animals, and he tried to just be like, well, no, only the looters. And then ultimately, because of the pushback by the community, he was forced to apologize. But that's, I guess, a good first step, but that's not enough. He needs to be strong and on his his language when it comes to police accountability, and really like voting in the way that he's claiming to be in solidarity with folks. So yeah, you nailed it, Gabby. Nawi, how you doing, brother? The one and only.
Hello, thank you.
Nawi, first of all, how is your finger, man? I heard you got rocked.
It's I think my finger is less blue, but my hand is swollen now. So I mean, it's not broken. I don't think it's broken. I can move it. So I mean, I'm sure other people got it worse. So I mean, the reason why I posted is because I felt that they targeted me because I was filming them. Because every time I would see like a light shining towards me, like they don't want people filming, or I don't know what, but they targeted me. But I mean, you guys know me throughout the years. I'm not violent, and it's like we've been doing this protesting against police brutality for years, since the 90s. I seen Gabby different protests, and sad to say, it's like we're always peaceful. Now that people are violent or rioting, quote unquote, now all of a sudden the politicians are kneeling with the protesters or demanding justice. I mean, this is the same thing happened in 1992. The politicians don't do nothing until the people go out there and riot. And we've been warning politicians. We warn them all the time with the people in power, but they ignore us. Why? Because the police unions have all this power, and they don't want to be seen as like weak on crime, quote unquote. It's like all these propaganda, and like years by years, so many city council meetings that we go to different cities, Fullerton, Anaheim, Santana, Tustin, talking about hold the police accountable, and they just ignore us. They laugh at us, and it's just the same story, and it's gonna happen again, quote unquote, looting and rioting if the politicians don't do nothing, or the people in power, because sooner or later people get pissed, and you see people breaking windows, throwing stuff at police, because it's like it gets heated up, and then it explodes, and it will happen again. And sadly, I don't want it to happen, but these politicians, they don't care. They don't care. Right now they're like, oh, we stand with George Floyd, and then like a year later or a week later, they're gonna forget all about all this protests. So hopefully the youth I see right now, Patrick and Alexia, new faces to activism, and hopefully they keep on working and working, and this is for life. This ain't like a couple protests and then you go back home and feel good. No, this is like for life. And I'm 42 now. I've been activism since 16, since Proposition 187, and there's still no justice for people of color. And I'm glad the youth are coming out. I mean, I'm a peaceful protester, but it's gonna happen again. The rioting, the looting, if the politicians don't do nothing now.
Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, and we've seen it. You laid it out. Unfortunately, it's not until things get really bad that the politicians and the world starts paying attention. Like you mentioned, you nailed it. We've been marching in this community in Santana and Anaheim, in Orange County, peacefully for years. Like you longer than I, but us, me with Jaw at least almost 10 years now, and things don't change. The police officers continue to have less accountability. They want more money. They're willing to bankrupt Santa Ana. And when they kill or maim us, we pay their their mistakes, their lawsuits. It's egregious. Not only do we pay for their salaries, we pay for them to fuck us up. And and so that has to change, number one. And so many other things on the national and local level. My only worry with all of these, and I've said it before, is that opportunistic law and order type of folks, politicians are gonna want to jump on this as an excuse to continue to further oppress our communities through tough policing. It's like Trump was like, yeah, just I'll give them 10 years for protesters. Like, yeah, over policing and criminalizing our youth is going to solve this problem. That's worked just great all these decades, right? So it's insane.
Remember, it's Trump. Doubling down is typically the way to go.
Yeah.
But maybe I didn't attend the protest, but maybe if you could give a brief timeline of what was occurring there. I mean, I assume it began as some peaceful thing, and there's typically a mix of people of different intentions in this thing. So maybe if one of you want to start off how the night went. And
yeah, I mean, I can start off. I got there around 4:00, and we were starting around City Hall. Sorry, I'm not super good with street names, but we made down to, I think, like Main Street by the Yost. Started walking through neighborhoods as a big group. Eventually made it back towards the Yost, and one of the organizers of at least the group I was in, looked about 500, 400 people, was, trying to motivate and keep people inspired, and kind of ended it on one of those high notes, like, good job, guys, let's go home. But so being there in that moment, I hopped up and was like, hey guys, this was all great to scream and shout and everything and march, but we got to be organized. We got to make sure our demands, are in bullet points. And how can we just call this good? It's not going to be over in one night. So that's what I think is going to be good about this conversation, is moving forward. How do we get those points across? How do we message better? But in terms of the rally, it was all peaceful, and we made a lot of good connections. Met a couple social influencers, thousands of followers and stuff. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going, and it's not going to be fixed in one night.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Can someone witness to, I mean, was there conflict? Was there a point when the police started saying it's time to go? And was anyone present for that?
Yeah, I mean, I was there from 4 to 9, so we went, about 9:30 is when they started telling, they had one of those big trucks with the huge speaker that, they blast it right into your brain, telling everybody, if you don't leave, we're going to start arresting people. That's when I started hearing some fireworks going off, and I guess somebody was throwing fireworks at one of the officers. That's about the time we left, and starting to get crazy. So I think 14 people got arrested, rubber bullets were fired, 20. So we left when it was starting to get too crazy. Again, I don't want to get shot at, but.
Yeah, speaking of being shot at, I mean, was that the same night or a separate? I know that there's been protests over multiple nights, so.
Yeah, it's talking about Sunday. That happened Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, yesterday.
Around 9:48, 12 minutes before the curfew ended, and they got me in the alley. So I felt like they were targeting me because I wasn't even on the street no more. I wasn't even I was on the sidewalk, going in towards an alley, and they got me. So, and I also want to talk about Saturday. I mean, Saturday I was there in McFadden and Bristol where it got crazy.
You were at Huntington Beach too, right?
No, I was in Huntington Beach. I was in Fullerton before Santana, and that day, I don't know what the police were doing it, but they were forcing people to go towards the businesses. They made people go down Bristol towards where Smart and Finals at.
Right.
Roberto Jewelers are at. I mean, because it started in McFadden and Bristol, and they moved them south. They didn't move them towards the residents. Usually, the protesters don't target the residents, but some of the protesters targeted the businesses. So I don't know if the cops did it on purpose, or maybe I don't know, but I don't know why they always do the same tactic, send people south, and then obviously there was going to be some in the crowd that are going to go take advantage of the situation. If they came for that reason, but that's what happened Saturday.
Well, have you guys seen those photos of pallets of bricks being placed with cones around them? Have you seen that?
Yeah, Edgar, our engineer, was just telling us about that. These pallets of bricks show up at protests magically.
Yeah, and they put cones around them, don't touch these bricks, guys.
Yeah, so I was telling the threats of agent provocateurs and people that come in to make our communities look bad is real. People, 95% of the people that showed up to these protests, they weren't trying to do that, but some folks are going to do that. But but at the same time, those things grab headlines, not 95% of our we're peaceful protests. That's not sexy, that's not catchy, that's not gonna break through, you can go viral, but Alexia, what was your experience? Were you there on Saturday or just Sunday? Unmute yourself.
I went to the Orange protest on Saturday at the Circle. That one was really peaceful. I didn't stay for too long, but yeah, the officers were just to the side. They weren't necessarily inside of the circle with the protesters. They were just kind of to themselves. Eventually I did see them place officers on top of the buildings. So yeah, that kind of sketched me out a little bit, even though it was very peaceful. And then yesterday, I actually went with a professor from my school, and that was just really powerful as well. I think for me, one of the most memorable parts was going back to the courthouse. It was every other street, just you know, like abuelas and like moms like handing out waters to the protesters, and the vendors like showing their support to the protesters, knowing that we were there, like demanding justice for George Floyd and the countless lives that have been lost to this, but also our community as well, because we are also hurting, because we have seen many brown lives like being lost at the hands of Santa Ana police and many other cities as well. So yeah, that was just really beautiful. And for me, I think it kind of reminded me of like my mom, and like seeing her, because I feel like a lot of times like they don't really necessarily know the reasons, at least like certain parents like don't really know like why we go out and protest. It kind of feels like rocket science, like having it like to explain to them, but like they still show their support and their love like in the best possible way that they know how, is with like food and like water and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Yeah, I only stayed till like about 6:30 because I had a feeling they were going to implement like curfew and stuff. And I was with my professor as well. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Right on. Yeah, and Gabby, you stayed
Yeah.
on till the end, right? And
Yeah,
you
so
got to see stuff.
we were there from the almost the beginning, and then we stayed on about 9:50. Like what Naui's saying is when they gave the order to disperse, they said they were going to give them a warning. They were going to give the demonstrators a warning, but they started shooting the rubber bullets right away. There was youth on their knees kneeling, and they shot them while they were kneeling. There was youth that were leaving the scene, and they were tackling them off of bikes and as they were leaving. So we were trying to help youth just get out, like go get out of the area, making sure that they were safe. Did they have a ride? Could they call somebody? How to get them out? So it was intense, and that's what a lot of people don't see, right? And so because there's two different perceptions of looters, right? Like you can have your opinion about like looters from your own personal like experiences or whatever. And the other one is like clumping protesters all as looters. And so even like last night, there was probably like a handful of people that were trying to loot. Out of 2,000 people, right? 2,000 people that were there from like 4 to 10 that were able to like show solidarity, give their message, stand together. But then in the media, it was portrayed as like there was all these people like looting and just going there to steal. And so I think we really need to stay grounded on like what it is that the message is. Could these protests all over America been avoided? Yes, they could have, by simply arresting the 4 officers that killed George Floyd and charging them with murder, right? Especially the one that was kneeled on his neck and suffocated him. That could have happened. And I think the people asking for that is not unreasonable. Like, is that unreasonable to ask that people not die in the hands of police? But instead, they protected those officers and went against the people. So you see war on the people. You see war on youth. You see how everyone's being portrayed in the media.
Yeah, some of these smears are reminiscent of pretty much any social movement that comes up. They find a way to call them, smear them by the worst among them, right? And so, I mean, and that kind of moving on to the next topic, kind of like, is this a good sign is what I'm asking. Like, can we leverage this moment into something that will give us change? Because here's my thing, and maybe Gabby, let me just throw it back to you with this, that like, I feel like it's gotten this bad. There's so much tension because this has been headline news for 4 years. These same kinds of brutal murder, like police murder stories. And yet we haven't made much progress as far as systemic change, right? And I don't know, can you Can you speak to if we've made, how much change we've made so far?
So when we look at it, right, this is a systemic issue that's been maintained by this country, right? It's intentional. It's not a coincidence that people of color are killed constantly, right? With people with power. So one is like people are trying to shame demonstrators by like, well, you know, if you care so much, why don't you go vote? People have been voting, right? Has that really drastically changed the system? Not really, right? We're still facing the similar circumstances that we were facing years back. And now it's like evident, right? You go on the news and you see like peaceful protesters getting, you know, just hazed with mace or shot at with rubber bullets. And the other one is, if we look at it with people power, it's always been about people power since like the beginning, right? People fighting to survive. And when, like one of the recent times, like in Anaheim, right? 2012, 10 young men had been killed by Anaheim Police Department, right? One of these officers recently killed, like within the last 2 months, a fourth person, a repeat offender, right? In 2012, the people were done. There was an uprising of Anaheim. And what happened after that? People stopped getting killed by Anaheim PD. Because people had to take it into their own hands to say like, enough is enough. These are our family members. This is our community. These are our youth. As teachers, are we protecting our youth? As social workers, are we stepping up? As therapists, are we protecting? As parents, are we protecting? So I think if we see it, right, like there's so much, how much progress has been made? Not much. Definitely not systemically. But with people power, like the numbers that are showing up, like what we saw yesterday, 2,000 people, that's powerful. What we're seeing around the country in different states, people that usually have never been to a protest, have never been involved, are showing up. Grandparents, like Alexia was saying, the abuelas were there, the moms were there, the tias were there, you know, people showed up.
Yeah, they sure did. And like, and it's really the most inspiring thing about it, whether it's in Anaheim today with the educators kind of stepping up, you know, educators in Anaheim, you know, Anaheim High School and other, you know, kind of just bringing in this new wave of activists and advocates for their community, because they are, you know, like you were saying, now you know, these are the ones that have to really kind of I don't know, to take on this movement and be a part of it. And it's been a long time coming, you know, like like some things have changed, but not enough. And this is a for life thing, because you know, the powers that be are always going to use the police departments to oppress working class poor people, to defend, you know, the interests of the 1% and you know, of the politicians. So it's, you know, it behooves us. It's really incredibly necessary that we broaden our coalition, right, and involve more and more young people.
And if I could say something too with that broadening the coalition, I think relaying that to the leverage, you know, the more people we have, the more leverage there is, right? And I think using that leverage from this moment is very important. And I don't have the answers, and I don't know what to do going forward, but I know there is a way forward with this leverage, you know?
There definitely ought to be. And I mean, you have a good inclination that, yes, organizing is a logical next step, right? Channel that momentum into an engine that can produce results. And I mean, I'd love to see a General Assembly come out of this thing or something, right? Like, I don't know if I'll necessarily be there. But there's one other thing I want to hit on with Naui. I know you've been, I don't know, you probably encountered the police many a time at different protests and stuff. Have you noticed their tactics or equipment changing over the years? Like, could you compare it to a few decades ago?
I mean, like in Anaheim, like I think it was like a viral picture that they came in like military vehicles, military gear. You saw that this time again. They had today the National Guard was in Anaheim. So yes, like they get a lot of money. The Santana Police Department, I know Gabby can talk about this. they get a lot of money for like terrorism gear. So I mean, who are they gonna use this gear at? You know, at people of color, protesters, leftists, and
Antifa,
yeah, they're
newly.
gonna label
Yeah.
whoever's a protester. They're labeled Antifa, and
Mhm.
so yeah, a lot of the gear is like you know, why you're like dressing in riot gear, like why you have those crazy weapons, you know, like some of these weapons I don't know what they are, you know, are they like military weapons, or it's like they're like, I can't even describe some of the weapons, like the tanks that they have tanks.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
another thing is like, I noticed, like, I don't know if it's that the police have the power, or is it because so much people are there? Like when you're doing the live feeds, it cuts off. I kept on Facebook, and they're like, the live feeds keeps on cutting off. And today happened in Anaheim too. So I don't know if that's something they control, or is it because there's so many people? But a lot of times, like I said, they target the photographers, they target the media, because they don't want to show the media showing what the police are going to do to the protesters.
Right. Yeah. I don't doubt they have like jammers and stuff.
Well, yeah, that happened this weekend, where social media was blocked. So for a long time, people couldn't go live, and that was the only way to like demonstrate what was going on, besides like the national media, you know, that portrays it how they want. But you saw last night departments from all over Orange County, like even the state parks patrol was there in Santa Ana last night. And you saw Irvine with like their big tank showing it off. You know, you just saw like they brought that. And when there's videos now going viral with these young kids getting tackled that were leaving, or on their bikes leaving that area. And when Santa Ana police was asked, like, you know, what happened? They were like, it wasn't us. It was a different department. But like, you're responsible for those departments. You invite them in. And so, Huntington Beach didn't bring in the tank when there was all those anti-COVID protesters. You know, you know, in other areas of the country, they didn't bring in the SWAT gear, the SWAT or militarized police. And there's people armed, right? With like AK-45s. They were armed, and they didn't have that presence. That's not how they responded. It's like when it's certain people protesting, it's like, oh, they're patriotic. They're exercising their First Amendment. But when people of color do it, right? Like, they're rioters, they're looters. You know?
Yeah. Remember that I believe it was in Michigan, where they surrounded the white alt-right Trump supporters, you know, like Second Amendment type folks. They were all armed, you know. And imagine if that was black or brown people like surrounding, like, you know, a city hall, or, you know, like, or in right there, like, and that's constantly the question. It's like, you know, it's like, if we were to go into like white communities and, like, you know, take out vigilantes, like, how would that fare well? Like, could we claim self-defense? Like, hell no. You know, that is systemic racism. Alexia, I want to ask, so, you know, there young people, you know, youth right now are very much on the social media kind of, you know, the platforms to spread information, spread awareness, spread funny memes and TikTok videos and everything in between. But how do you see the balance between the like online activism and offline, you know, on the ground type of activism? Do you see a good balance between folks, or how do you see young people engaging activism in those two ways?
No, I don't see a good balance, honestly. I think it's really comfortable to hide behind a screen, and sometimes often not say anything because it ruins the aesthetic of like their Instagram or whatever. But it's like, you know, when it comes to like, you know, calling DA offices, judges that are in charge of these cases, they're very quick to run and, you know, not do that. Donate to bailout funds. Like, obviously, it's not worth their time or their money. So, um, yeah, there obviously right now, there have been like a bunch of posts, at least like within my feed, of um, kind of calling out white people in their silence. and just not being able and not posting anything about it, or they're posting like a salad by the pool and they don't have the guts to post anything about their own privilege or, you know, what they've been doing, if anything at all. So yeah, I feel like there has been more with people's outrage. There has been like accountability and saying like you shouldn't even be on social media if you're not going to use it, to use your own platform and tell your followers like this is what you should be doing, these are the numbers you should be calling, these are the bailout funds you should be donating to. So yeah, I think it's really comfortable to have a lot of talk, but I'm also guilty for it sometimes as well. So
Very nice, humble, honest answer. Yeah, Jose, I think your little mic there is not operating, but yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, we call it clicktivism, right? I mean, like you mentioned, it's easier to do things behind the computer, but it's so much harder to get out there. And but you know, a lot of people for this is their first march in action. And as you mentioned earlier, Dylan, since the assassination of Martin Luther King, we have not seen this amount of you know of protests and marches and rallies around the country, in almost every big city across, you know, the country. So it's truly inspiring to, you know, to be able to see that. But you know, at the same time, like you know, I I personally did not participate because like I care about the people I live with and my family and my grandma, and you know, she has, you know, has battled cancer, and other folks that are have issues that I want to eventually get to see, and I want to make sure that they're okay. But you know, everybody took on their own risks, and so I'm not trying to shame
Yeah,
people,
that's true.
you know, into but
It was a hard decision for me because you know, because they have the same you know, can relate with you with like living with your family and stuff. But I'm glad that most of the people had the mask on. You know, it's like most of the people that are leftist activists or indigenous rights activists, we wear masks. The majority of us, and I mean, there was a few people that didn't wear masks. So I mean, I most of the time when I was recording, I stayed my distance, and it's kind of hard to, you know, when there's a bunch of people to tell people, you know, keep your distance, especially when there's a large crowd. But today again, I was like, when I was recording, I tried to stay away from the people. But yeah, so I know it's a hard decision to make. Like, should I go or not go? You know, and then I you know, you did the right thing by staying home because I know it's a hard decision.
it's so hard. I'm just like at home, just like watching Facebook Live videos and like walking around.
There was a way to stay safe though, like to keep a distance. Like you definitely could like keep a 6 foot different distance.
Oh.
And especially like we had like having hand sanitizer on you and you know, constantly just like staying safe. So there you could do both.
We should have done Mayday then. Go ahead, Pat.
Santa Ana, there was a guy driving around handing out water bottles, and somebody was walking around with hand sanitizer, making sure people were stocked up and healthy and safe.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Liz and Alondra that were super and, you know, amazing and passing out milk and water and snacks, you know, to people, and kind of being medics and being there for the youth. You know, that's incredible, and that's the kind of community allyship that, you know, we've really harbored. I feel in Santana, especially many of us that have been at it for a minute, and also, you know, have seen what the Santa Ana Police Department is capable of. I mean, you know, this one in particular. So, you know, like we mentioned Anaheim and the uprisings of 2012. You know, we mentioned, you know, other, you know, police. I mean, but Santa Ana Police Department in particular is one of the most problematic police departments locally, and so it's, you know, it really hits home in so many levels, and their impunity, their cronyism, and their ability to buy politicians, make everybody, kiss their ring, and if you don't like it, they're gonna launch crazy smear campaigns against you, and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that they get people that are not going to hold them accountable, are going to not ask any questions, no community policing oversight, and and more of them in our schools and in our communities, through gang injunctions and the like. So yeah, so Gabby, like I'm wondering, so what's next? What do folks feel like? And this is not just for Gabby, but for everybody, I guess. Like, what are the next steps for y'all personally? When it comes to this issue of police brutality, systemic racism, and and the terror and the brutality that our communities face, through whether it's through ICE raids, gang injunctions, um, stop and frisk, and everything that the police does to dehumanize us and put us in our place. What are is there hope that will change?
So definitely these are long-term commitments, right? It's not just showing up. Of course, people show up. Whether that's your capacity, showing up that night, that's your capacity. Whether it's like showing up to all the actions, that's your capacity. But definitely like looking long-term organizing, right? When we look like how do we create systems for ourselves? Whether they're like, y'all know that some of you all know, we started the OC Legal Clinic, right? So now we have monthly clinics that helps people expunge their records, that get second chances in life, get off gang injunctions, get off gang databases, access services that are being denied to them. And really because we cannot rely constantly on attorneys to do this for us. So how do we create that knowledge and help each other? So it's like everyday people learning this. And so we create these pathways. Legal clinics are super important. And you create these partnerships with attorneys, paralegals, community members, and people just committed. Doing research. So looking and analyzing at patterns in your city, police patterns in your city, right? Is there repeat offenders? If so, like what are the policies? How are people held accountable, right? What are local politicians doing about accountability? When we're looking at police oversight committees with subpoena powers though, right? Not oversight committees that they're just really just for show. Those are a waste of time. They really have to be strong and intentional. And when people talk about voting in elections, that's part of it. That's a strategy. It's not the solution. We have to remember that. And then making demands, like what are our demands, making them clear, and also like attainable, right? So like ending gang injunctions. Why would we want to end gang injunctions? Because people are put on probation literally for the rest of their lives. Like, there's no way to get off. So that's something that we're working on right now. Is like, how do we create a process to get people off these systems that hold them, that lock them for the rest of their life? So organizing, coming together, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's already organizations that are doing this work, and you can find your interest in different areas. There's educators, there's doctors, there's there's attorneys, there's in every interest, and because you have the power and you have knowledge that you can share, right? Of course, like youth-led organizations, they're like the power, they're the voice, right? They're the ones that are the most meaningful. So allowing them to dictate and lead their way.
Absolutely.
Right. And I did want to touch on like the election thing really quick. Yeah, I know voting, that's not going to fix everything, right? But it can mitigate some problems. And considering that we just had a council member that was ejected prematurely from the council because they opposed the police agenda is a scary development, especially considering potentially their most friendly candidate got the seat for the time being. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I wanted all the people in the uprising to vote against this, but I don't know if any of you think that would have been a good outcome to keep Ceci. Was it better to oppose the POA's agenda and keep a Republican? It's a weird dilemma, isn't it? but
Yeah, because
it
it's
happened.
tough to be able. It's really hard to be able to hold any of these people's feet to the fire when there's so many layers of red tape or bureaucracy that the message gets muffled, or even like that game telephone, they might not even hear the actual message and think it's not that bad.
Yeah, no, politicians for a long time have had to like walk the line when it comes to the POA and not, it's like the sleeping giant. And in the most recent election, as Paul Gonzalez, a local person that ran for city council, attested to, they make you sign a paper saying like these are the things that we want you to do, for us to consider endorsing us. And by they, I mean the POA.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to just clarify that if I use the wrong pronoun, Liz is they. So just want to make sure that I'm being correct with that. Alexia, so you what's in it for you as far as your activism and where you see yourself kind of putting your energy towards this issue that you jumped into,
Um, I mean, as far as this, I think just
or any issue.
finishing, yeah, I think just finishing school, and being able to use the education I have, and use it for good. But yeah, I think a huge thing I struggle with, I'm just like super shy and like really quiet when it comes to certain things. So yeah, just digging into conversations and like, I mean, as far as like, going to like family reunions and like, feeling the confidence to like call like my tios and my tias out in the, when they use the wrong pronoun, or, they say certain things that are totally against what the movement is, and just have misconceptions of what protesters are fighting for. And um, I mean, like I said earlier, it's really hard to be in those conversations, just because we are this often told to, fear and respect authority, especially at a young age, in a Latino household. So, yeah, keeping myself accountable, and also just like reminding myself why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my mom. I'm doing this for my immigrant community, my family in Nicaragua. I have family members that have been exiled for literally speaking like on their own truth in their countries. So knowing that I could do that here, passing out water bottles, like things that like I take for granted every single day, but like also hard because it's like really difficult to navigate waters when like you have family members that are police officers as well. So it's like, how do you like balance that? And yeah, it's like I just said a lot of things that didn't really make sense, but I'm
No,
sorry.
no, that especially when it comes to addressing anti-blackness or
Mm-hmm.
phobia or xenophobia or Islamophobia, or, just these things within our communities. Those are difficult conversations to have.
Yes.
I find that most times we're not so quick to burn those bridges. We're a lot more tolerant with the people that
Yeah.
our family, but much more so than we would be to, strangers. But I think it's important to figure out how to have those tough conversations, and you have them with people that you love and respect, and you build that repertoire with. But constantly become, I can speak for myself, becoming a better ally, and being a better listener, and being able to be a better communicator. Like we have to figure out how to communicate these things, and at the very least, like teach our children not to be this way if we can't
Yes.
teach the older folks. But now what's next for you, man? We have got some serious Trump rallies to document, and we are gonna be relying heavily on your skills in that regard, man. I mean, what do you think is gonna happen, man? I mean, this didn't, like Gabby said, this did not need to happen, but it was like a bunch of hay just waiting for like something to just light the fire. Anything could have lit it. People are frustrated on the left, we talked about this now, right? On the far left and the far right, we got some like hippies saying like COVID is like whatever, and they're, like new agey people that are saying like, yeah, you know what, Trump is a good guy because he's taking on the pedophiles and the deep state. Like, no, no, get out. Like, I can't. But then, I had my friend Pato Banton like kind of saying like some of these things. But then on the far right, like we were expecting them to come, like heavy-handed with the Proud Boys and all these people that are gonna be, as the election gets closer, are going to probably get better organized and more militant in their approach to us and our anti-police brutality or anti-Trump rallies. So what do you think is going to happen in the next couple months or a few months?
Or one thing for sure, they're gonna be using the rallies. That's gonna be their talking point. Like these guys are looters. Trump's gonna go after the looters, and even though he's hiding in the bunker, so that's gonna be one of their again one of their talking points. Like look at these savages, look at these animals. They're looting and stuff, and so we just got to stay united and just focus on what we're doing. Continue what we're doing. Like one of the things that we're fighting is the rent hikes. You guys are talking about anti-blackness, but also like what about the self-hate in our community? If you want to insult a Mexican, what do you call them? A Indio, or the self-hate. There's self-hate in our community.
Wab. I hadn't heard that in a while.
Yeah, or wetback or pinche paisa. There's so much hate, and we just got to learn our history, learn to love ourselves, and also know that our ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Like we have indigenous blood, and at the school they're not teaching us our history as indigenous people. So we have to know this stuff, and the more we know is the more we arm ourselves with knowledge, and that's how we fight the system with the truth. You don't have to have guns, or you gotta fight the system with the truth and with knowledge and educate the youth, and that's the way you beat these hate groups, Trump supporters. You tell them the truth. They tell us to go back to Mexico, then I'll tell them to go back to Europe.
And you do.
That's the way it is.
They know you by name now. They're just like, hey, Nowie. It's like, hey, white supremacists. Yeah, man. No, that's no, you're right. We have to continue to keep strong with them and fight against them. They're going to use these things to further back up the race war that they're trying to stoke in a lot of ways. They want mayhem, they want these things, but we'll see what happens. And Patrick, so like what's next for you? What do you think is or as far as personally or collectively?
Yeah, I think just keeping the momentum going, not letting that spark of inspiration and motivation die out in people. With this group I've started organizing with, we're trying to plan something for the weekend, some type of march from one city to another to kind of connect people from different places. So hopefully we can organize. We're going to have a Zoom meeting tomorrow and try to talk and figure out what's the best course of action, and again put out some demands, some bullet points that are easily attainable and realistically achievable, because one step at a time is the best course of action, instead of trying to get everything to change in one night and burn the whole thing down, because you can't burn your house down and expect it to get better. You have to fortify your castle and go from there.
Yeah. It's so much easier to build, to destroy than it is to build. To oppose than to figure out how to propose, and rally are all around that. And like talking what you were saying now, like about like your identity and your history. I mean, I think it's very important for Latinos, Latinx, Chicanx, brown folks to rally around Chimali, because I'm part of this. We're part of this book club around pedagogy of the oppressed, which everybody should freaking read. Everybody, please read this book immediately, because it talks about the balance between reflection and active and action, and constantly having to be like developing your revolutionary theory, but re-tribalizing ourselves. But tribalism is a bad word. It means like being proud of where you are, understanding where you come from, and being able to stand strong in that empowerment and understanding of the history, the legacy, the warriors and amazing, beautiful conquerors that were our people, right, in indigenous communities. And you've always been strong in that, Naui.
I just want to send a quick shout out to two moms that have been fighting here in Anaheim. Like a lot of the anti-police brutality work has already been done throughout the years. Genevieve that got her killed, that got her son killed by Anaheim Police Department, and also Donna.
Yeah.
And also there's some family I also want to send shout out to Pinky Gonzalez that got her husband killed in Anaheim, that got choked to death too, like kind of like similar to what happened to George Floyd. And their kids are always, they're at the protest today. They have a sign that says Anaheim PD killed my daddy. So people have been fighting in Orange County, and I just want to send a shout out to all the activists. Like the In League Press. They've been protesting too. There's been people that have been protesting, and hopefully the youth like Patrick and Alexia to keep on going, because there's always going to be injustices. It's easier not to do nothing and just live the so-called American life and forget about, pretend everything's all nice and pretty. And like again, hopefully they continue the fight. And again, I just want to make a point. As you know, I'm not trying to debate you. You know me, I never identify with Latinx or Latino, Hispanic. I'm indigenous, Nica Placa, Mexica, and I just want to make that a point. Thank you.
Right.
No doubt. Nican Tlaca. I'm just like trying to figure out an umbrella term. So maybe we can rally around Brown, but we'll figure it out. Thank you. And also Teresa Smith, Kelly Thomas in Fullerton. There's been several locally, the people that have been on the front lines. I mean, Teresa Smith, God bless her. Like, she reached out to me, and, she's like, I would be out there right now, but I'm dealing with health stuff. And, and that's, so, again, young people, Pat, Alexia, all those thousands of people that were out there in Orange County, just being beautiful and proud and loud. And, just like, we need that energy to continue. This is a marathon, not a race. And, step up, step back, go into hibernation mode, soak up energy and come back, and join us, because, we're in it for the long haul. I couldn't be prouder and happier to have all of y'all on this here show here today. So I want to just go around and perhaps give last words to everybody. We'll start with Alexia, Gabby, Pat, and Naui. Go. Any last word? Final thoughts. Sorry, I always say last words like it's
closing remarks.
Funeral, damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alexia.
I think something I've just been thinking about is that we will get the justice that we fight for. And I think this is blatantly seen in every single case within the past few months that have taken place. And police officers don't make any of the arrests, not because they saw them, but rather because we see them and we want to hold them accountable. And it's sorry about that. But yeah, and I think it's hopeful and it's powerful to see so much youth of so many people my age. It felt as if like yesterday, like Gabby said, 90% of the people were youth, and I didn't really see anyone over the age of like 35 like being there. So that definitely gave me more momentum. And I think as a future teacher, I would love to raise up the next generation of students that are committed to being anti-racist in every aspect of their life, and affirming them, and to be bold and proud of their melanin in their skin and their language that they speak, because often I feel like that's not taught at home, at least. But yeah, I would hope to do that, and I hope many people would kind of hop on that bandwagon as well.
Yeah, just speaking of us older, 35 and older people that weren't there, just want to say we're a high risk. No, I'm just kidding, Alexia. But no, yeah, it's incredible, and so happy to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us, Gabby.
Yes. So ending with, youth have a right to be protected from harm, injustice, and racism, This is ugliness that we've allowed for so many years, and this is our time to step up. This is our time for everybody to step up, right? Whether it's protecting youth voice, being there physically if we need to be, teaching about like histories and pride, right? So like one of the basic things that we can do in schools especially is like ethnic studies, right? Like basic programs that teach us to be proud of who we are and that we have the power in ourselves to make a lot of the change.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to, for my closing remarks, I would recommend people to look up Cornell West was just on CNN with Anderson Cooper. That was great. He's always on point. Killer Mike talking, really inspirational. I think just keeping that spark alive, because we get so desensitized. We see something so happening so much that, okay, we're used to it, and then we don't feel that motivation anymore. So one of these guys that's in this group I'm with, you know, he just wanted you guys to know that it's not over. You know, it's keep going. We're going to keep fighting peacefully. You know, we're going to keep going until there's some type of compromise or some type of concession, you know, not compromise 50-50, but like some budge in the resistance we're facing. You know, we got to get something. If this ends with nothing, then we need to keep fighting.
Correct.
That's right. No, it can't be for nothing. It's got to be for something. Yeah, and I saw Dr. Cornell West. He laid it out. The social experiment that is America has failed us. We need a new social contract. Damn it. Another person that really did like went off. Like I was like, wow, Nick Cannon. I posted it in the chat for folks. Yeah, so I mean, in this moment, creativity and artistry should really, you know, take it to the next level to, you know, to talk about the things, whether it's murals or poems or art or theater, all sorts of things. Nawi.
So first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for the show. We need more independent media. Like I think the majority of the people here are from Orange County. I also want to send a shout out to the Hachaman and Tonva, which are the original people of Orange County. A lot of times we forget about them. They got massacred by the European invasion, and they're still here and they're practicing their culture. And one thing, since again, Orange County activists, a lot of people throughout the years, oh, I'm gonna move to Berkeley, I'm gonna move to LA. And like I'm like, wait, why are you going over there? We're living here in Orange County where all the conservatives or all the you know, like the Republican rich elites live, and like, man, we need you here, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's kind of hard being an activist in Orange County because like there's so few of us, you know, and like and a lot of people like they want to move to LA, and Berkeley is like, what? It's like, we need you here. So I want to send a shout out to all the people that, you know, that stayed in Orange County and fought here, you know. Like it's hard being an activist in Orange County, and little by little things are changing, demographics are changing, but we just gotta stay united and hold the people, the elites in power, or the corporations that support these politicians in power. And I'm glad to see Gabby still here. You know, like it's been years, and I know she goes to Bakersfield. I mean, to Santa Barbara, but she always comes back. And you know, it's like I just want to send a shout out to the Orange County activists out there. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
She's here now. She's here to stay. She's her roots are steady now. Yeah. So once again, thank you, Alexia, Patrick, Gabby, Nawi. You know, this was an incredible conversation. We had at some point 120 people tuning in. You know, and you know, so and listening to the voices of our community, people that, you know, the young people, you know, the longtime activists and you know, folks that, you know, are fighting for people they don't know, stepping up and really, you know, taking the message to the people in Orange County, the little engine that could. You know, we're not LA, we are OC, baby. Be proud, you know, fight for your hometown. You know, you don't need to go with all the cool kids in LA.
You're needed.
Yeah,
You're needed here.
The harvest is plenty.
Laborers are few.
All right, y'all.
Oh, yeah, one more thing. Whoever's watching, share the video. Share the video. Let's promote what's happening. Let's promote it. Let's make this.
Yes, please like, share, follow. It's happening. Help us get to 1,000 views or likes. We're at 1,030 follows and 950 likes, which means that a lot of people got over us and unliked us, but still follow us. So I don't know how I feel about that. Anyways,
That's interesting. We need to talk with them.
Our former friends. All right, thank you once again, and we'll definitely be talking to all of you, and hasta la victoria siempre, la lucha sigue. Tierra y libertad, homies. All right.
Thanks for coming. Keep up the fight.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Good times.
Dylan, how you doing?
Now it's time for. It's just you and me now. Wait.
All right, take care.
We don't have to wait for them to leave. We're not going to talk shit on everyone. Okay. Okay, Joy, you can do it now.
You and I, just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
This is why people tune in, by the way. It wasn't our fantastic panel. It was the promise of an a cappella performance by.
You ready?
Truly.
I got two, and then we'll this is a little oldie but goodie, but always inspires me when we're talking about these things. Because yeah, it's going on. Anaheim mothers crying, district attorney lying, private investigation spying, and I'm trying to die in a righteous death, but not at the hands of PD stench. I'm brown, so I'm usual suspect, so I suspect racism alive and it's well. When will it end? Time will tell. I try to tell the kids about the rights, but damn, gang injunction system functions to funnel kids towards jail, feed the rich who still hunger, for more money, folks of color, just numbers and dollar signs, sign of the time, my skin's a crime, I do the time, but time is running out, no hope for me. Third strike means I'm striking out, can't rehabilitate, can't put food on the table, can't get a job, means these laws I have to break them. Jim Crow's resurrected, triple K's manifested into judges and badges who make the laws they're benefiting. Educating the populace, trying to be the optimist, but these standard ground laws got me dealing with vigilantes. Land of the free, no more. It's quickly turning
fascist. Oh, I think I have that album. Sounded really familiar.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. Very nice. That's a good track, actually.
Yeah. And the last little piece I will read is something in the works, and it goes. I don't cry for things that can be replaced. I cry for lives that are being erased. I don't weep for broken windows. I weep for lives that have been lost. I don't worry about looting because this country was built on it. They looted our lands and riches through their divine conquests. They loot our tax dollars for their selfish goals. They loot and they blame us when we're broke. When we die, when they choke, it's the people that pay. The game has been rigged. We pay when they pray.
Oh, slam. Yeah, drop the mic. I mean, drop the laptop. Slam the laptop. It's the equivalent. Yeah.
How you feeling, buddy?
Good. I mean, I'll do my own closing remarks. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I try not to. But I mean, I always bring this up because they're so right. But like the Dream Defenders giving their endorsement of Bernie Sanders, I mean, their assessment of politicians is correct in my opinion. Like, they are our enemies. They should fear us. Ooh. And like all politicians, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, guess why they haven't made any progress on police brutality? They don't fucking respect you. They don't fear you. They don't think you'll do anything. They could. It's like Trump said, like he could shoot someone in the middle of the street and everyone would still love him. It's like almost the same thing with our political system. And it's so. I mean, I'm again reminded of the quote: "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible might make violent revolution inevitable." And it's a fact. So, I mean, it's crazy to live in a society where we are just systemically disenfranchising people of color for hundreds of years. And then more recently, like we do all these insane bailouts of these multinational companies. And just recently, we just did one. What's that, Jose? Isn't that looting? Like, why isn't that considered looting? That was in the trillions of dollars. If someone can get some goddamn toilet paper to use tonight because they looted, God bless your heart. And
or some shoes or some Gucci purses. God
yeah,
bless
fuck them. You know how unbelievably privileged these corporations have been? They've just been strip mining the entire country and hollowing it out from the inside, and then they're going to shed a tear, and all the mainstream media outlets will shed a tear for and say that the looters were animals. How about why did you build a bomb to explode? Like, why did you build a structure on stilts on sand and then outraged at the collapse? Like, it's your fault. Like, do something real about it. And honestly, we should be more like this. This is what they do in France and shit. When something threatens their benefits, something threatens their public education, their healthcare, they get out in the fucking street and they take over and shut shit down. And it's like, yup, guess what works? And by the way, since when did revolt become so unpatriotic, right? I recall that to join the Elks Lodge, you have to say that you've never tried to overthrow the U.S. government. Guess how we started? Guess how it started, you idiots? It started because people did stuff like this. What do you think the Boston Tea Party was? And then we're going to condemn these people. Perhaps they're on the right side, you know? Perhaps in the face of being basically, okay, I'm done. Sorry, you get the point. I think.
Damn! No, keep going.
No, no, that's it. I got it out. I communicated the point. But the point is, they should fear us, and we'll get change that way.
I mean, that is in the Constitution. You know, the people have the power to take the power away from the government if the government no longer serves the best interests of the people. We need education. We need praxis, and we need action. You know, action without praxis is activism, as in words of Paulo Freire, and praxis without action is verbalism, which is another word for collectivist or coffee shop revolutionary. So we need what he calls a new human, a person that is able to fight the revolution that springs from love. Love is the revolution, love is the movement, and be able to build dialogue with folks to be able to wage true war against the oppressor that doesn't then make us the oppressor as the oppressed. So
the cycle continues and we become the sub oppressor.
Yeah, can't do that. Can't go from the oppressed to the oppressor. So that we have to figure that out and do it in small groups and figure out how we can build good communication skills and good long-term 5, 10, 20 year strategies to be able to get the things that we desperately need in this country. And whether it's the electoral front or the grassroots fronts, but we need soldiers on every front.
Yeah, fight on all fronts. And that's why it's like, I don't even think there always has to be a dichotomy between a grassroots and a reformist voting thing. I mean, just take them as they come. Look at a vote and say, would this matter to me? It's not like, it's almost religious to say, it doesn't matter at all. I get people's point. It's not going to be the answer, right? But it can help. Sometimes it's useless. Sometimes we can mitigate some problems, right? But yeah, I say get involved on all levels. And I'm actually encouraged by what Pat was saying. Like, he met a few people that have a goal to do something. Go do it. And honestly, just say the only reason the show is here is because we met at Occupy. And frankly, it only takes 2 or 3 people to do something. That's tiny
what
thing.
Meat says.
Yeah. Never
underestimate this, the power of a small group of people to change the world. In fact, the only thing that ever has. But yeah, it's micro to macro. And, we've come a long way since Occupy. And we've tried this participatory democracy and it's messy. But, as long as we have true justice and love in our hearts and, justice equity, in our minds, then I think we're gonna figure it out eventually. So I'm equally optimistic and hopeful in this moment. And frankly, I have to be, because I'm tired of being depressed and sad.
There you go. Turn that frown upside down and bash in a cop car windshield. Oh wait, okay, that's not.
Oh, come on.
That's not explicitly endorsed by this program.
Check your privilege, Dylan.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that unless it saves someone. Unless it's a good situation. I mean, that's the thing about morality, right? I mean, morality is situational. So if there is a puppy trapped in that cop car, and the windows are rolled up, and it's above 74 degrees outside, smash that damn window.
It was a puppy. It's my canine unit, you stupid.
Okay, yes.
It looked hot. All right.
That'll be on my obituary. So.
I thought it was a canine. I thought it was a puppy.
I thought it was a puppy, yeah. Oh.
Good times.
Good times.
All right. And on that note, yeah, big ups to all the youth, all the organizers, all the activists, all educators, all the advocates, all and the champions in our community. Standing up for police accountability, and standing up for Black lives, and the Black Lives Matter movement locally, and understanding that if one of us is oppressed, we're all oppressed, and building this true allyship and solidarity locally and nationally. It's incredible to see, regardless of what they try to focus on. We got some momentum on our shoulders, and so no matter what happens in November, the struggle continues. So, but
indeed,
educate. What do you say? Educate yourself.
I don't know.
Get
informed.
Buy back.
Binge Netflix and eat some junk food. No, that's
yeah.
I mean, we're trying to transition from that. I mean, you can sprinkle that in. I mean, there's such a thing as self-care. Just say, please, you don't have to give up binging Netflix. It just has to be binge responsibly. That's how I'd say it, right?
And I can't wait to binge on some chelas at a backyard party at Santana. My neighbors keep having graduation parties and they don't invite. But I understand.
It's rude, man. Well, you're never at church, dude. Come on.
and I'm looking forward to being able to sleep without fireworks going off. And
yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about how fireworks were used in the. I imagine they were fired.
Who's got the hookup is what I want to know. Like, stop holding out on us. Who's got the illegal fireworks hookup? Yeah.
It seems like every other neighbor does, because it's like, I feel bad for my cat. Let's just say my pets don't really understand why there are explosions. I mean, I don't. I mean,
you're like, if I'm scared, what do I think that these things? You and the cat like flinch.
Oh yeah, the cat finds new hiding spots. So yeah.
God bless its soul.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, that's my phrase. The laborers are plenty, but the harvest. No, see, okay, what now we've been saying is like in Oakland, the laborers are plenty. It's the opposite, right? Right. OC is way like the what's it good? The harvest is plenty. It's the opposite, right? It's the one you say. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making sense. Okay. You know what I'm saying. The audience understands me.
Out of control.
I'm assured that the audience understood that.
Yeah. The harvest at Anaheim Angel Stadium is plenty, but the Harleys are few.
Oh.
Bikers for Christ. Oh yeah. And on that note,
woo! Man, you've been saving that one.
I make lemon out of lemonade.
Damn, you're just freestyling now.
And margarita. That's some little tequila.
Oh, boom.
Yeah.
Oh, good show, Jose. Way to go. You pulled
Thanks.
in some great people. So
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Yeah. So no. Once again, thanks, Gabby and Naui and Alexia and Pat for being amazing guests. I want to thank our amazing audio video engineer Edgar Silva from Iron Lion Media. Iron Lion Studios. Hit us up for any information on starting your own podcast or recording here at Iron Lion Media.
Oh yeah, 10% commission going over to Jose.
I want a discount on my fee.
And you can get your seller's kit only for $40. Yeah, we should turn this into an MLM. We'd make a lot more money.
I'm tired of being broke. I'm joining a success cult.
Is this
Airborne? It is.
Is this stream on?
Yeah, dude. We should really.
I'm just kidding.
All right.
Woo!
From Dylan Thompson and Jose Gloria and all of us on It's Happening family, we are signing off.
It's happening.
It's happening. Like us, follow us, share us. Tune in.
Etc.